Welcome to Mr. Ace Math. This lesson is on factors and GCF. Before you begin, you should make sure that you're comfortable with the multiplication tables and with basic division. So make sure you're good with those and let's get started. So first of all, what exactly are factors? Factors are numbers that go into another number without a remainder. Without a remainder, that's just a fancy way of saying that it goes into another number evenly. And it's always less than or equal to that number itself. For example, let's say we have the number 10. What are the factors of 10? Now think about that. Remember, factors are numbers that can go into another number evenly. In other words, without a remainder. So, let's look at the number 10 and think about what can divide 10, starting with the smallest number. Well, 10 can be divided by 1, because 10 divided by 1 is 10. 10 can also be divided by 2, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. 10 can also be divided by 5, because 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 10 can be divided by 10, because 10 divided by 10 is 1. Therefore, these numbers are the factors of 10. So the factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10, because all of these numbers can go into 10 evenly. Now there's a whole bunch of different ways to find the factors of a number. But honestly, there's one method that I really recommend over the others, and that's the factor pair method. Well, what exactly are factor pairs? A factor pair is when you list the pairs of factors that give you a certain number when multiplied. Let's take, for example, the number 30. What pair of factors can I multiply that will give me 30? And it's always best when using this method to start with the numbers 1 and itself. So I'm going to start with the factor pair 1 times 30. And then we go down to the next number. So we should try to see if 2 is a factor of 30. Can 2 go into 30 evenly? Yeah. And 2 times what is 30? That would be 2 times 15. And this is our second factor pair. And then we'll try the next number, 3. Is 3 a factor of 30? Yeah, because it goes into 30 evenly, which means that there's a factor pair. And what times 3 is 30? Well, that's 3 times 10. Is 4 a factor of 30? No, it can't go in evenly. Is 5 a factor of 30? Yes, it can go in evenly, which means there's a factor pair. That means we can multiply 5 times some number. And what number is that? That's 5 times 6. And then again, we'll try to go into the next number, 6, but it's already here. And once you see that the number's already there, you know you're done with your factor pairs. And you'll have a complete list from the smallest factor all the way to the highest factor. And that's the real beauty of the factor pair method, is that it gives you a complete list in perfect order. So, we can just say that our factors for 30 are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. Let's take another example. Let's take the number 45. Again, when we're using the factor pair method, we should start with the factor pair of 1 and the number itself. So we'll start with that. 1 times 45. And then we'll see if the next number can go into 45 evenly, if it's a factor of 45. Is 2 a factor of 45? No, because it doesn't go in evenly. Is 3 a factor of 45? Yes, it does go in evenly. And what's the factor pair there? That would be 3 times 15. That's our second factor pair. Is 4 a factor of 45? No. Is 5 a factor of 45? Yes, because 5 times 9 will give us 45. This is our third factor pair. 6 is not a factor of 45. 7 is not a factor. 8 is not a factor. 9 is a factor, but it's already here. And since it's already here, our factor pairs are complete. And we have a complete list of factors for 45, from the smallest all the way to the highest. So we could say our factors for 45 are 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, and 45. Let's try one more example, something a little bigger. Let's try the number 100. And don't get discouraged and don't get nervous because we're dealing with a bigger number here. It makes no difference. If you understand the concept, you'll be just fine. Now remember, just like with the last examples, we should start off with the number 1 and itself, the factors 1 and itself. So we've got 1 times 100, that's our first factor pair. And then we'll go to see if 2 is a factor. And it is, because 2 times 50 gives us 100. That's our second factor pair. Is 3 a factor? No. Is 4 a factor? Yes, because 4 times 25 gives us 100. Is 5 a factor? Yes, because 5 times 20 gives us 100. Is 6 a factor? No. 7? No. 8? No. 9? No. 10? Yes. And 10's a special case because it's just 10 times 10. So we don't have to write the number twice. We only need to write it one time because it's really just 10 times itself. And since it's 10 times itself, it's already repeated. And since that's the case, we're done with our list of factors, from the smallest all the way to the highest. So we can say our factors for 100 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, and 100. These are all of our factors for 100. All of these numbers can go into 100 evenly. So what is GCF? First of all, what the heck do the letters mean? We need to know that before we can know anything else. And those letters stand for greatest common factor. And the greatest common factor is just the biggest factor that two numbers have in common. Basically, the largest two factors that they share. Let's take an example. Let's say we have the numbers 9 and 16. We'll write the factors of 9 here. We'll write the factors of 16 here. Now we've gone over the factor pair method, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say what the factors are. At this point, you should be able to find all the factors of 9 and all the factors of 16. Basically, you should be able to find the factors of any number at this point. So what are my factors for 9? The factors of 9 are 1, 3, and 9. And how about 16? My factors for 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Now, this is my list of factors for 9. This is my list of factors for 16. What factors do they have in common? They only have one in common. They both share the fact that they can be divided evenly by 1. But that's it. There's no other factor that they share. Therefore, the greatest common factor, GCF, is 1. How about another example? 12 and 15. We'll write the factors of 12 here, and we'll write the factors for 15 over here. The factors for 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And the factors for 15 are 1, 3, 5, and 15. Now, what factors do they have in common? Well, 12 and 15 can both be divided by 1 evenly, and they can also be divided by 3 evenly. Which of these factors is the greatest common factor? Well, that's just 3. So the GCF is 3. Because even though they had 1 and 3 in common, 3 is the largest one. So that's the greatest common factor. How about 50 and 65? My factors for 50 are 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50. And my factors for 65 are 1, 5, 13, and 65. What factors do they have in common? Which factors do they share? They share 1 and 5. Which of these is the greatest common factor, 1 or 5? Well, that's clearly 5. So the GCF is 5. And how about 75 and 90? Now these numbers have a lot of factors, so I'll go through those pretty quickly. So we'll have 75 and we'll have 90. Here are the factors for 75, and here are all my factors for 90. There's a lot of them. What factors do they have in common? They have 1 in common, they have 3 in common, they have 5 in common, and they have 15 in common. And which of those is the largest factor? Well, that's just 15. Therefore, the GCF, the greatest common factor for these numbers, 75 and 90, is 15. So here's your pause and practice. Just pause and practice. Hit the pause button, and when you're done, unpause the video, and followed by a 3, 2, 1 countdown, your answers will be displayed. Ready, set, go. So let's take a look at our answers. Number 1. The factors for 80 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 16, 20, 40, and 80. Number 2. The factors for 22 are 1, 2, 11, and 22. Number 3. The factors for 111 are 1, 3, 37, and 111. Number 4. The factors for 125 are 1, 5, 25, and 125. Number 5. The factors for 21 are 1, 3, 7, and 21. Number 6. The GCF of 49 and 35 is 7. Number 7. The GCF of 10 and 12 is 2. Number 8. The GCF of 28 and 40 is 4. And number 9, the GCF of 25 and 100 is 25. So what did we learn from this lesson? A number that goes into another number without a remainder is a factor. True or false? Factors are always bigger than the number they divide. That is 100% false. A factor has to be smaller than the number that it goes into. An easier way of finding the factors of a number is to use factor pairs. And the largest factor that 2 or more numbers have in common is called the greatest common factor, or better known as GCF.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And thanks for using Mr. Ace Math. Don't just pass math, ace it.